The big story that we're about to talk about, we haven't done an awful lot with this so far, but it was so extraordinary yesterday. This is Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard in Fairfax, Virginia, in the courtroom. Some of the testimony we heard from her yesterday was extraordinary, wasn't it?
I think it's really upsetting as well. And actually, what I found most shocking was people are saying they're bored of it and they don't believe her. And I just think, for me, watching that testimony and listening to her, how could you not believe her? How could you not?
Well, I mean, she does sound incredibly sort of self-confident. She also sounds, you know, very sad. She also sounds just incredibly convincing. But then, of course, people say, well, she is an actress.
Well, exactly, of course she is, but that just means she's composed and calm. I just think if you're an abuse victim, which she claims she is, and I believe that to be the truth, then imagine sitting there and reliving all that pain, dragging it all back up again.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the second time she's had to do it.
And sitting in the same room with the same man who did that to her. Well, what we're going to do, Ellie, is we're going to listen to some of the testimony from Amber Heard, because it is incredibly affecting. She described the relationship as volatile. She said she would feel both so loved and so distanced from him. She said one incident where Depp allegedly slapped her multiple times just because she asked about his Winona Ryder tattoo. Let's have a listen.
I just laughed because I thought he was joking, and slapped me across the face. And I laughed. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, this must be a joke. This must be a joke. Because I didn't know what was going on. I just stared at him, kind of laughing still, thinking that he was going to start laughing too to tell me it was a joke, but he didn't. He said, "You think it's so funny? You think it's funny, bitch. You think you're a funny bitch." And he slapped me again.
I mean, that's quite an extraordinary statement, isn't it?
And it's so upsetting because you can still, in a way, for me, almost hear the confusion in her voice, like she does not understand still why he didn't laugh. And of course she's going to laugh. He had wino tattooed on his arm. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, and as we were watching that, you see Johnny Depp sitting, kind of staring straight in front of him, not looking at her, but sort of listening intently. And she is, as I said, very, very convincing. Let's have a listen to this.
I know you can't hit a woman. You can't hit a man. You can't hit anyone. You can't just hit somebody because I knew there was I knew it was wrong, and I knew that I had to leave him. And that's what broke my heart, because I didn't want to leave him.
It's very moving, isn't it?
It's incredibly moving, and I think from what you've read and what we've all seen is we know they had a really volatile relationship, and at a base level they did really love each other. But clearly, I mean, I don't know how she'll fix those wounds because they're clearly not healed.
No, and anyone who knows anyone who's been in this kind of situation kind of feels for her, just because you do, because it sounds so awful. Let's have a listen to this description.
By the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me. I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but I remember being on the floor of my apartment, and I remember thinking, how could this happen to me again?
And she's clearly still very upset, remembering what happened and having, as you said, to go back to that time.
And bring up all those memories and talk about it in great detail, knowing that everyone is scrutinising what you're saying. That's so incredibly difficult. And I know people have said, oh, you know, she's an actress, she's very convincing, but also, like, she's also a human being, and she has clearly been through abuse. She has suffered. You know, and I know she did wrong too. There are allegations from him against her, but it's tough.
It really is. And so much of what we talk about on this show involves abuse, you know, of one kind or another, whether it's mental abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's words, whether it's horrible, you know, tweets online, that kind of thing. I mean, when you see somebody talking like that, it's quite upsetting, really.
I think it's emotive, and people, I have empathy with her.
Yeah.
You know, you speak to people who have suffered abuse, and there are so many people out there, and you can see as well she didn't want to leave. Most people don't want to leave because they are loved and they believe there is love there. And clearly this was just so toxic, they had to obviously end it.
Yes. And she describes how awful and how difficult it actually is to even talk about it now?
I struggle to have the words. I struggle to find the words to describe how painful this is. This is horrible for me to sit here for weeks and relive everything. Hear people that I knew, some well, some not. My ex-husband, with whom I shared a life, speak about our lives in the way that they have. This is the most painful and difficult thing I've ever gone through.
And this is many years later as well, isn't it? They were only married for 15 months.
Yeah, not long at all. They literally married in the 2015 and it was over by 2016.
Yeah.
And you think...
But if you think back to what you were doing 6 years ago and you're having to go to a courtroom to talk about something that happened 6 years ago, I mean, that puts your life totally on hold, doesn't it?
Oh, of course it does. It's put his career on hold. It's put her career on hold. I mean, it has been years and it's dragged on, and it's... You know, but he is the one who's taken libel action against her. You know, so he clearly wants to try and clear his name, but I don't know.
Because he says that as a result of the trial here, he can't now work.
Yeah, but he can. He's literally just got a new film role. He's been cast as Louis XV in a new film that starts filming in Paris in summer. So he is slowly being allowed back into the fold.
Yes.
You know, I think Hollywood has a very short memory. But
well, if you make a lot of money, Hollywood has a short memory.
Exactly.
And she's also starring in Aquaman, I think, isn't
yeah,
she? Or
so
at least she has a role in Aquaman.
Exactly. So they both have moved on with their lives, but I feel like this, for Amber, it's just like, leave me alone now. This has gone on for years. Just stop.
Well, you would just want to move on. And she did try, I think, to have the case thrown out, didn't she?
Yeah, and try to have it stopped.
Because she didn't want to be on the stand.
Yeah, no, and why would you?
I know.
Again, she's already done it, like you said, in London. And with the Sun 2 years ago, and obviously we won, the judge ruled we were correct when we used the language we did describing him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Johnny thinks he's going to win this one, to be honest. But let's see. I may be wrong. I
don't think you are. Obviously, if you have been affected by that in any way, the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is here, 0808 2000 247. So that's 0808 2000 247. Also, the Men's Advice line is 0808 801 0327, because, of course, you know, some men can be affected as well in these situations.
Massively. And obviously there are allegations that she obviously did things to Johnny too. He's alleged that, and no violence is acceptable regardless of your gender. No violence. And obviously men are often the victims who don't speak out, you know, and it's so important for men to get help because, yeah, it's horrific how many men are living in abusive relationships and don't talk.
Yeah.